going to teach you about expanded notation. But before I can do that, we need to understand decimal place value. Let's only think about decimals that are less than ones to begin with. So any decimal that is less than 1, we start with 0 ones. And when we have decimals with 0 ones, we don't say that there's 0 and whatever is next. We just don't say the ones at all. So if I had something like 2/10, I would write that as 0.2. And in 2/10, there are no ones, so I don't say 0 ones, I just say 2/10. You're gonna see that there's 0 ones, the decimal, and then there's 2/10. When you're writing numbers in the tenths, you're always writing the digit right next to the decimal beside the ones. Let's say I had 6/10. If I have 6/10, I'm going to write 0.6. If I had 8/10, I would write 0.8. And so on. What about decimals that are less than 1 in the hundredths place value? Well, the hundredths place value is 2 after the ones place value. So 2 hundredths, if I just think about 2 hundredths, I would have 0 ones, then I would have my decimal, and in 2 hundredths, there are no tenths, so I'd write 0 for my tenths. But there are 2 hundredths, so I'm going to write 2 in my hundredths place value. 2 hundredths would be shown as 0.02 to show there are no ones, no tenths, but there are 2 hundredths. Same thing for 7 hundredths. In 7 hundredths, there are 0 ones, 0 tenths, but there are 7 hundredths, so I would write 7 in my hundredths. And this would be what 7 hundredths look like. What if I had 22 hundredths? Well, in 22 hundredths, I can't write it like this, 0.022, because now suddenly I have a digit in the thousandths place value. So that wouldn't work. In 22 hundredths, I actually have 0 ones, but I have 2 tenths and 2 hundredths. And that's why when I think 22 hundredths, I see 22. Okay, so for 22 hundredths, you would write that as 0.22. If you had something like 49 hundredths, you would write that as 0.49. Making sure that the last digit in your number lines up with the hundredths place value. We are going to think about our thousandths now. If we're thinking about our thousandths and we're thinking about our thousandths as less than ones, our thousandths are 1, 2, 3 places away from our ones. So 2 thousandths would be written as 0.002 because there are no ones, no tenths, and no hundredths, but there are 2 thousandths. So I would write that as 0.002. 7 thousandths would be written the same way. I would have 0.007. 22 thousandths. I think about my last digit as 2. If I want 22, I'm going to have another 2 here to show 22. I don't have any ones. I don't have any tenths. So 22 thousandths would be written as 0.022, making sure that I end in my thousandths. What if I had 352 thousandths? Well, I know that I have 0 ones because it doesn't say something like 1 and. I have 0 ones, and then I have 2 in my thousandths. I need 52, so I'm going to put 5 in my hundredths. I need 300, so I'm going to put 3 in my tenths so that it shows 352. So 352 thousandths is written as 0.352 thousandths.